How to overcome performance anxiety in your business or in your career. So one thing that I love talking about is confidence. And I love talking about this is because when I'm able to help people build their confidence, there's so many benefits that comes to it. One of the first benefits that I can think of is a client that I worked with who was struggling with putting themselves first, right? They're struggling with this idea of being themselves, choosing themselves, and not offending other people. That was their biggest thing. And as a result, their confidence wasn't as high as they would like. And because of that, they found themselves in situations that weren't really conducive to the goals that they have. One of the things that this person found themselves doing was working at a job where they were getting paid considerably less than what the market value was. And we started talking and I started giving him techniques and really just pushing him to do what him and I know that he should be doing. And what he ended up doing was applying for a new job, right? And this job was within his business, so it was just a promotion, right? So an internal hiring process was being conducted. He applied, he interviewed, he waited a couple weeks, right? He was getting nervous, didn't know the outcomes of it. And then he eventually got an email saying that you've been hired, you've been given the job. And that was amazing. And what was really great about this was the pay increase that he got with this. This pay increase actually doubled the salary that he was already making, right? So just think about that, right? If you're making, let's say, $60,000 and now you're getting paid $120,000, think about what that would do for your life. If you're getting paid $100,000, you get that doubled, right? Now you're making $200,000. Think about what that would do with your life. This is the value of confidence. This is the value of putting yourself first. And that's why I love teaching people about these concepts, because if I can get them to feel confident, they would then have everything that they want in their life. No questions asked. And that's what I want to do in this podcast. I want to talk to you guys about how to overcome performance anxiety so that way you can increase your performance in your business, careers, and in your personal life. Now, it's no secret. If you've heard my podcast, if you know my story, one thing that you know that I struggled with was performance anxiety. And a big part of this came from when I was playing basketball as a youth. One thing that I struggled with was being confident on the court because I know what failure on the court looked like, and it wasn't pretty. One of my biggest failures happened when I was in middle school. So I was about in 8th grade, and I remember being in the 4th quarter, and our team was being down by 1 point. And I remember the point guard on our team taking a 3-point shot and missing it, and then me, right, catching the offensive rebound. So I'm right there under the goal with the ball, and I airballed a layup. And the whole gym went, ah. And man, that just absolutely crushed my soul. But what was really crushing was the next day when I went to school and everybody started telling me, man, how did you miss that layup? You blew the game for us. Like, it was really hard. And again, I'm in 8th grade, so I'm believing everything that people are telling me, right? Like, that confidence just wasn't there. So I was already starting at a deficit when it comes to building confidence. And what that did to me for the next few years, right, especially in my basketball career, was that it made me to be someone that was afraid to take chances. It made me to be someone that was afraid of going through that vitriol, going through that angst, if you will, that anguish that people were giving me, right? It made me very afraid to go through that. And I told myself in my mind, well, to not go through that, I just shouldn't miss any shots. And the best way to not miss shots, guys, is to not take any shots. And I think that's what maybe a lot of people are doing right now. They're not taking any shots in their business, in their careers. I love talking about relationships. Maybe they're not taking any shots in their relationships, whether it's finding a new relationship, going back and apologizing for an old relationship, whatever the case may be, right? Like, they find themselves not taking these chances, and that is getting in the way of some of the lives that they're looking to have. So let's go ahead and jump into how to overcome performance anxiety. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is what is performance anxiety. And it's simple. It's that nervousness that you get when you're playing a sport, when you're about to do a motivational speech, or when you're about to perform and do something. Now, to go deeper, because it's okay to feel nervous, it's when that anxiety is causing you to choke, when the anxiety is causing you to not perform and do what you know you could do or should be doing. That is performance anxiety, because it's very normal to feel anxious when you're playing a sport or you're about to perform, because this is something that you deeply, deeply care about. And to have something that you deeply care about, there has to be a little bit of fear of things not going the way that you want it. And it's because you want it so bad that there's anxiety about the what ifs, okay? And trust me when I say there's a way to overcome this so that when you have the anxiety, you can still perform really, really well. And again, that's what this podcast is about. So the first main point that I want to talk about, the first thing that I want to give you to help you overcome your anxiety is shifting your focus of what success looks like. Now, I love talking about this because we're not shifting success in the end point. We're just shifting at what things we can control when it comes to our success. I'll give you an example. So literally yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients. He's, a real estate investor. I asked him, how did you go from the reading about real estate to executing on real estate? And he said, well, I had to get these small micro wins. I had to first just figure out the numbers. I had to first figure out, well, if things go really, really bad, can I still come out on top, right? So some people in the real estate business, they talk about grand slams, right? He found a grand slam deal, if you will, something that didn't have a lot of risks to it. And therefore, he was able to actually have success right out the gate. Now, what does this have to do with you and performance anxiety? Well, for him, he focused on what he could control, which was the negotiating price. And by doing that, he almost guaranteed that he was going to win down the line. Now, let's say you're doing motivational speaking. Well, one thing that you can shift your success from is seeing, well, can I give a topic that people enjoy, right? And I'll even go deeper. Can I first pick a topic that this specific audience would want to hear? By doing that, you're already starting off with the win. Now, a second win would be you actually going out there and just seeing if you can get up there and just speak, right? See if you can just make words. Now, we're not asking you right now to have a grand speech like TD Jakes or E.T. or Tony Robbins or some of these big guys. No, we just want to see how many stages can you get on. And I think that would be another great point to make. If I was someone that was a motivational speaker, one thing that I would judge myself on is how many stages did I get on this month? That's something that I actually do when it comes to my webinars, my Facebook ads, and things of that nature. I'm not really worried about the results right now in terms of did I make money, how many people joined, or anything like that. Right now, what I'm actually looking for is how many people actually click the link. And that's a little something about Facebook ads and marketing and things like that, where there's a series of things you have to do in order to make sure that this funnel that you're building is really, really profitable, if you will. Like there's a lot of little steps. And right now, I'm not focused on the big step at the end where we make money. I'm just focused on the small things that I can control. Like, did I practice my webinar? Am I looking at the stats? How many webinars did I do this month? And it's the same thing for you. So what I'm trying to say, I want to make sure I clarify this. I just need you to simply shift what success looks like for you. If I was playing basketball in today's age, let's say I was in the NBA, I wouldn't judge success on, hey, did my team win or not, right? What I want to focus on is, did I go out there and did I rebound? Did I go out there and set the best picks? Did I get to my spots on the court and take shots in the game that I take in practice? If I do enough of those small steps, there's a really great chance that we're going to win the game. So why not focus on the small steps, right? Why not focus on the things that you can control? By doing that, you almost guarantee that the outcome will fall in your favor. But again, the beautiful part about this is by focusing on the small steps that you can control, there's a high likelihood that you're going to succeed at them. And that will start to help you to build your confidence and cut into this performance anxiety that maybe you're experiencing. Here's point number 2 that's going to help you to overcome performance anxiety. And I want to start off by telling you guys a story. So in 2017, I made the big jump. And the big jump was me moving from South Carolina down to South Florida, and more specifically to Miami. And if you're from Miami, Miami Lakes, right? Really love the city. Now, when I came down here, I was probably here for about a month before we got hit with a really big hurricane. And I believe this hurricane was called Hurricane Irma. And it was a Category 4 hurricane. Now, me coming from South Carolina, the only hurricane that I really know of, if you will, was Hurricane Harvey and a really bad one called Hurricane Katrina. And I'm pretty sure you've heard of that. So as a result, someone from South Carolina, when they hear hurricane, they can't help but think, is this going to be like Katrina? And the reason why we think like that is because we know that the people in Louisiana and New Orleans, they weren't predicting that hurricane to hit them as hard as it did, which is why a lot of people didn't leave the city, right? And it caused, thousands, I think it was a couple thousand of lives being taken. Now, being from South Carolina and living here in South Florida, I packed everything I could in my Nissan Altima at the time. It was an '05 Nissan Altima. I packed everything that I had and I booked it right back to South Carolina. And I stayed there for about 5 days because the schools were canceled. And when I came back down to South Florida and I pulled up to my apartment building, I looked around and all I saw was some branches on the ground. I was like, did a hurricane even come this way? Like, I really thought I was going to come back and see, like, all my stuff being messed up because it flooded, right? All this water, all this damage. Like, I was really prepared to just rebuy everything. And that would have cost me thousands of dollars. But it wasn't, right? So I was like, I guess everything was okay. And honestly, the news and, everybody else, like, it wasn't really helping because a lot of people were saying, like, hey, like, if you can, maybe you should leave. And I can remember leaving at, I think it was like 3 a.m. the morning before the hurricane got there. And at 3 a.m., the highways were totally jam-packed. It was actually so bad that the governor suspended all tolls. So if you needed to take the toll, you could take it free of charge, right? Why am I telling you this, right? Like, what does it have to do with performance anxiety? Well, the reason why I'm telling you this is that the mind can sometimes act as a prediction machine, and it has a real good ability to predict the worst. And that's what the mind is designed to do. And when the mind is predicting that the worst will happen, if we're not careful, our actions will certainly follow. And this is something that happens when someone finds themselves feeling anxious during a performance. They may find themselves predicting that something bad will happen, just like I did when I was playing basketball. And as a result, they're going to take a totally different course of action, one that is not conducive for the goals that they have. So what I want you guys to do is start to use mindfulness. Mindfulness is the blade that's going to cut through any anxiety. And the reason why is because you're pulling your mind from the future and you're placing it right here in the current present. By focusing on, let's say, this next play, by focusing on this next task in a group of 100 tasks, it helps you to become a very good expert at the next thing that you need to complete. So let's take another example, right? Let's say that you're trying to start a podcast just like this. I don't need you to have 1,000 subscribers by tomorrow in your podcast, but what I do need you to do is be an expert at finding out who your target audience is. Then after that, I need you to be an expert in finding out what this target audience is struggling with. That way you can create content that is around that idea. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this podcast. And again, I love telling you guys this, but hey, I'm not someone that really loves to be on camera. But I do it, and I'm able to do it from what other people say, pretty well, right? Don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm able to do it pretty well because right now, I'm focusing on this topic and I'm focusing on this camera. I'm focusing on you. And by doing that, it helps me to not be so caught up in what it's going to look like after I'm finished, right? What are people going to say? What have people already said about my podcast, right? Or the lack of views, right? If I'm not getting the views that I want. I just need you to be an expert at the next task until it's complete. That is it. And that will help you to be able to cut through any performance anxiety. And to do this, you can use simple mindfulness techniques. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you one. I'll give you an easy one. One that I love having clients do is to close their eyes and set a timer for 2 minutes. And over the course of these 2 minutes, I ask them to count their breaths. And the goal is for them to count their breaths without missing or forgetting the count. If they ever forget what number of breath they're on, they have to start over from 0. My challenge for you is to see if you can make it past, let's say 15. That seems to be a number where a lot of my clients at first tend to stop. So let's see if you can make it to 15. Again, close your eyes, set a timer for 2 minutes, and then breathe. And every time you exhale, you can count that as one breath. But again, mindfulness is the blade that's going to cut through any anxiety because your mind can be a prediction machine. And the last one, I had to save this for last. And I got to warn you, this is not the sexiest answer, okay? So if you want to hit pause, if you want to cut this episode, if you want to be mad at me because I gave you the most unsexiest advice, please do so now. But the third main point is just simple preparation. I don't think a lot of people know how much comedians, right? And I said it, comedians actually prepare before they do a Netflix special. There's been stories of guys like Jerry Seinfeld or Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart or whoever the case may be, going into these closed events where you can't pull out a cell phone or anything, and they run their routine time and time again. And what they're doing during a routine is they're noticing what the audience's reactions are to each joke that they tell. But even deeper than that, they're noticing at the pitch, at the speed, at the volume, right? At the placement of the jokes, like all these things, they're noticing which jokes are really able to pop and able to make the crowd move versus other ones. And they do that time and time and time again. There may be some comedians that may do, let's say, 20 or 30 different shows before they have their set all together. And then they do it on a Netflix show. And it seems like they're perfect. It seems as if they've been doing it all their lives. And for a lot of people like Dave Chappelle, they have been. But it's the preparation that you don't see that actually helps them to be able to cut through any performance anxiety that they may be feeling. So what I want to ask you is, how much are you preparing for this next task that you're about to take? Now, I do want to warn you guys, there is this idea of over-preparing. And over-preparing comes when you're just preparing and preparing and preparing and preparing, or you're learning and learning and learning, but there is no action. With these guys, they took action, and from that action, they learned from the results they were getting. That's what I'm telling you guys that you have to do. We're preparing, but as we're doing that, we're noticing the feedback. We're noticing the data that we're getting back. Even from something like, let's say, basketball players, right? Their feedback that they're getting is from practice, yes, but it's during the games as well, and that's why they watch film. They go back and watch, are they taking their shots, right? What are they doing when this defender is pressing them on their left hand? Are they able to go right? Or if they're right-handed, let's say a defender is forcing them left. Are they typically pulling up and going for the jump shot? Or do they trust their left hand enough to make it all the way to the basket, right? And that's just some basketball knowledge if you're a basketball head. But basically, you have to look at the results. And that's something that I personally love doing right now in my business. I used to hate looking at data, but it's actually very fun. And that data is preparing me to have what I'm hoping to be a really great year this year. So preparation is the key to helping you guys to overcome that performance anxiety. Now, with that being said, I want to go over again the 3 things that are going to help you to overcome performance anxiety. And again, the first main point is shifting what you see success as. And what I said about this is that I want you guys to know that I'm not changing what the end point looks like. If you were to say, Coach, I want to make $1 million, that's great. Let's focus on making, let's say, the first dollar or the first $100,000, right? And then we're going to keep growing from there. And by doing this, also, we want to focus on what things we can control. That is simply it, all right? We just want to focus on the things that we can control. Second, mindfulness is the blade that's going to cut through any anxiety. And the reason why is because your mind is a prediction machine. It has to predict the worst in order to keep you safe. It's just that it does a too damn good job of doing that. So make sure you're using mindfulness. Again, I gave you a great breathing exercise to help you to start to build that mindfulness. And you can use that breathing exercise in the midst of any performance, okay? And I may tell you guys during the performance, just simply notice your breath. You may not have to count it, but just notice your breath to bring yourself back to this moment. And the last one, again, I told you guys it wasn't sexy. Don't be mad at me. It's just how we are programmed as humans. But simple preparation. Do not overlook it. There are comedians that go and do a stand-up show 20 different times before you actually see it. All right, 20 different times before you actually hear what they have to say. And it's the same type of preparation that we should take with ourselves, okay? Even when you look at, let's say, surgeons or doctors, they're in school for 12, 13, 14, 15 plus years before they actually operate on someone or before they're doing it on their own. And that's the level of preparation that you guys should be taking if you're trying to reach really high goals. So with that being said, this is Coach Wells, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast so that you can get more information like this. And also leave a comment. If you comment and you tell me what you loved about the episode or what you would like the next episode to be about, I would definitely do that for you guys. All right, I'll see you later.